Well, hello there, ladies and gents. How the devil are you? And welcome back once again, after far too long of a pause, to AndyManCam's garage. Today, I'm going to be fitting this Scottoiler xSystem 3.0 to this Aprilia Tuareg 660. And what's even better than that, to celebrate 40 years of Scottoiler have actually given me a vSystem to give away to one of you lucky sausages. So stick around to the end of the video to find out how you can get your grubby mitts on it. Otherwise, let's get on with sticking this onto the Italian stallion. In the box here, we have got the oiler system itself, the xSystem, which uses this electronic control panel thingy to change how much oil is going onto the bike. And at this point, I will actually let you know that obviously Scottoiler, as well as giving me the oiler to give away to you guys, have also provided me with this one free of charge for testing. So yeah, there's the oiler. We've got hoses, 2 bottles of Scottoiler's super fancy new biodegradable green oil. No installation is complete without cable ties. All of the fitting gubbins, a couple of stickers and some instructions. Oh, and a little pipe for filling the unit out of the bottles. Now, the first issue I've got to deal with is fitting this thing somewhere onto the bike. Now for me, I think the best place would be about here, out of the way of the back wheel, out of the way of the swing arm, but there's just nothing there really to attach it to, because you can't have access to the frame at the back end here. It's completely covered by these trim panels. The next nice out of the way place would possibly be here, hidden behind the foot peg, but the problem is it's very close to that chain guard, and considering this is a bike that's got over 200 mils of suspension travel on the back end, that chain guard is definitely going to smash into the oiler. I mean, the next choice would be down here, but same problem again. There's only about 2.5–3 centimeters between the chain and the oiler, so it's definitely going to get smashed. See, crazy choices. Could be up here, but that's going to be in the way of my knees. Up on the crash bar, that's just getting ridiculous. Otherwise, there's not really many frame options here. I mean, one option would be to drill some holes in this panel and then mount it to that, because on the back of the oiler, it has actually got this little bracket thing that clips onto it, and that has holes for cable ties, which you can then fit to any frame piece. So I could actually use these mounting holes on that to screw it to the bottom there, but I'm not that keen on drilling holes in a panel which provides spray protection to some electrical components in there. Another option would be to stick it here down by the seat, but it is slightly interfering with the seat, and obviously with me jumping up and down on this thing for hours and hours on end, this is going to wear a hole in the seat given enough time. So that leaves me with one option, which is to use this bar here, mount it to there, and then have the oil pipe running down that way, the electrical thing running in to that panel there. So another solution, if we take a look at this little clippy mounty thing, is to use these holes at the ends, and then mount that onto the seat peg holes. But obviously I can't do that because I've still got the seat peg on there. I would obviously quite happily take that away, but it's integral to the Hepco and Becker luggage bars that I've got, so that has to stay for now. So here it is. To make that a little easier, I'll loosen off this panel here, press fit at the beginning. I can't pull that completely out because I've got the rear end attached to the luggage rack, but I can give myself enough space to see what I'm doing in here. So now, with the little clippy to the short cable ties, ensure that on this clip, there's a little thinner end of this little clippy tab on there. That has to face upwards. Put the cable ties into the clip. The nice thing about this little clip actually is it's got little rubber dots on the back there, both to give it a bit of grip on the frame bar, but also a little bit of cushioning to stop it from scratching it. And that's the clip in place. I now should be able to slide and lock the oiler into place. There we go. That feels nice and sturdy. So, next job, power supply, which needs to go to the battery. And the eagle-eyed viewers will have noticed I haven't got the ugly great big plastic piece that Aprilia sends the bike with over the top of the battery. I've just replaced it, literally, with a cable tie with 2 holes in it, holding it down. This battery weighs nothing. It doesn't need such a sturdy hold in there. Plus I can now check at any time without having to remove that plastic piece what my battery level is. So the power lead needs to go from here, obviously, to the battery here. So what I'm going to do is just tuck it under the fuel tank there and run it under the strut that the seat sits on, and secure it to the frame here with a cable tie so that it can't wander away. And these wires along with the fuse, and then tuck on behind here. First connecting the negative wire, and then the positive wire. And obviously I've got a big fat excess of wire, so I'm just going to pull it all through here, coil it up neatly, and bosh a little cable tie around this wiring loom. And there's all the Scottoiler cabling neatly tucked away. Put this panel back together. There we go, that is the unit fitted, and it has power. The next mission now is to get a feed pipe for the oil from the end of the reservoir all the way around the swing arm and down to the sprocket at the back there. When we look at the feed pipe, the nozzle is already fitted, but as I don't know how long the pipe's going to be yet, I'm actually just going to pop that out. I mean, obviously you could start at the back end of the bike, but I'm not ready to get on my knees just yet. And the next little bit we need from the kit is this tiny little double-ended nozzle. It's enough sniggering from the back U, and this pokes one end into the bottom of the reservoir, and the other end, quite obviously, it's easier actually to push the pipe onto the nozzle first. So there's a little nozzle in between the reservoir and the feed pipe. Now ideally at this point I would quite like to poke this feed pipe down in between the foot peg hanger and the frame there, but the problem is you're supposed to avoid having tight kinks, so what I'm going to have to do instead is to poke it through the foot peg hanger and make a nice gentle loop round and attach that again with a cable tie. And I've got one at the back, one at the front, taking us down into this corner area. So now what's probably going to be the fiddliest part of all is there's a hose clip that's holding hoses and wires that are all going to the back end of the bike. And I'm going to hijack into that and put my feed pipe in there with those hoses. Then I'm going to tuck all of this pipe down through the hole in the swing arm. I'm going to have to get a bit sneaky at this next stage because all the ways I can see of running the pipe underneath the swing arm mean going underneath the chain, which is almost certainly going to end up in damage. But here, at the back of the swing arm, there is a big rubber bung. If I pull that out, you can now see that there's a great big hole in the swing arm. And as luck would have it, here at the back on the side, there's another one. So now I've got two rubber bungs and a hollow swing arm with a hole at the back and a hole at the front. Perfect for running a pipe through. First of all, I'm going to poke a hole in this bung. So it potentially means I'm going to have to buy a new bung if I ever use this bike without the chain oiler, but no great shakes. Pipe through the hole. And so this pipe is plenty rigid enough that it's not being crushed by that hole, but also, because it's soft rubber, it's making a great seal. And now comes the tricky bit, because with using the force and hope, I have to try and endoscope this hose to the back end of the swing arm. Okay. That one didn't keep. Well, after much fumbling, swearing and attempting to use the force, I haven't got it in yet, so I've actually tried some insulation tape and taped the hose to a cable tie. Nice big long one. One of the ones that was even in the box, as it happens. And look at that, we come around to the other side of the bike. It came straight through the hole. Brilliant stuff. Put that through, and that's our hose now completely protected by the swing arm. Awesome. So now poke a hole in the rearmost rubber bung, poke the hose through that from the back end. Stuff the rubber bung back into the hole. Then I've done exactly the same thing at the back end, with the rubber bung in there and the pipe coming out in the bottom corner. And that pretty much means we're at pipe destination alpha at the back here, with the pipe coming out the rear end of the swing arm, really close to the sprocket. So I just need to find something to attach this to, get the nozzle onto the sprocket. But before I do that, I'm entirely overjoyed with the situation in here whereby this pipe is flapping around and it could potentially find itself getting caught in the shock absorber. So I'm going to put one of the little sticky hose clamp thingies in on the inside surface of the swing arm here. So obviously the first thing I need to do is take one of these isopropyl cleaning towels from in the kit and give it a proper good clean here on the inside of the swing arm. Right, I've cleaned that so much I've probably thinned the paint. And then in the kit we've got these little sticky back hose clip thingies, and I'm actually going to stick two of them in there just to give me a bit of redundancy if one should fail. Peel that off, stick one there, give it a nice firm push, and the second one there on the flat bit. Push the hose into the clip. Same with that one. And that is now hopefully nice and secured, and that shouldn't be able to go anywhere near the shock absorber there. So now I've got the pipe sticking out the back end of the swing arm here, really close to these chain guide hangers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a little Jubilee clip and this little bracket to mount this to that hanger bracket there. In the kit we've got a selection of various size bolts, but the one that's in there that fits this hole is a little bit too long. So I've just grabbed one out of my stash. It's the perfect length. First of all, I need to figure out exactly how long this hose is going to be. So once I've got the nozzle and the rubbery bit, come to about there, that should just about do it. So that means trim it here. Very precise working here. Mathematical extreme. So first poke the nozzle, which incidentally has a little swollen end and a pointy end. So we'll stick the swollen end 8 to 10 millimeters inside the pipe, push the larger colliery bit over all of that, and then the little mounty bit with the Jubilee clip over the top goes over the whole thing. Tighten down the Jubilee clip to clamp that whole assembly into place. Bolt through the hanger there, that goes over the bolt, and then the nut on the back of that. As that tightened down, incidentally with a nylock nut on the back, so that the vibrations can't ever cause it to come loose. Yeah, so I've got the oil feed pipe coming back round from the back of the swing arm into the little mount here, down to the sprocket. Obviously, it's not going to get oil on the sprocket like that. So all that's left for me to do is to Push it and the little steel bracket here just bends into place. Push it so there's a tiny bit of tension, preferably into this little step here. And also, very important, I've got the nozzle so that the point is touching the sprocket and that angled cut is actually facing away. That helps to get a better feed onto the sprocket and also avoids a problem that I had in Norway last year, whereby you have the bracket putting too much pressure onto the sprocket without that point only touching it. The pressure causes the nozzle to actually melt itself shut as it rubs on the sprocket. So yeah, just a tiny, tiny little touch and point first. Yeah, as far as installation goes, that is the job done. So all that's left to do now is to fill this thing with oil and then worry about dealing with the settings. The filling up is incredibly easy. I've got my bottle of biodegradable green oil, a filling nozzle. And with the reservoir itself, I've got two choices. I can either lose that bit. So yeah, lesson one learned. Moving the little cappy thing is a little bit dangerous because it's not connected to anything. Yeah, as I was saying, I can unscrew this little cap, holding it carefully in my hands, poke the nozzle into the thing, fill like that. If for whatever reason you lose your nozzle, you can actually just pop this whole thing out, and that is connected so it stays exactly where it is. And then stuff the bottle in the hole, squeeze away till it's full. For priming, first of all, need to turn it on. Then push the prime button, which is at the top, and we get the flashy LEDs to show that it's priming. Obviously there's very little pressure at the moment because the pipe is full of air. You can see a little bit of oil coming through there, but to help it along, I'm going to throw that little lid on the floor again and then use the bottle with the nozzle to provide a bit of pressure. So I'm squeezing the bottle, that's forcing oil into the system, and that, as you can see, is forcing the oil through the pipe, getting rid of the air bubbles, which also means I'm forcing a bit more oil in, so this thing will be completely full. So you can see the green oil in the pipe disappearing into the swing arm, and then as if by magic, here comes the oil down the last bit of the pipe, and then onto the sprocket. So we are primed. We can stop that, screw the little kit back on the end, stop the priming system, and that flashes in the middle to show that we are on the middle setting. And with filling and priming of the system, we've used about 2/3 of a 125 milliliter bottle. There's two bottles in the kit, so you get 250 mils altogether. So that shows you how many times you should be able to fill the system with the oil that you've got. So now we come to the settings, and if we look at the handy diagram that's in the packing here, we can see that we've got 15 settings altogether. And there are only 4 LEDs, but how that works is, I push the down button until nothing happens anymore. Yep, there we go. So at the very lowest setting, bottom LED flashes 1 time. If we go up through the 5 settings, each of them flashes 1 time. So that's the first 5. It then starts again, flashes twice. That tells you that's setting number 6. Twice for 7, twice for 8, twice for 9, twice for 10. Then it starts again, flashes 3 times. That's 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And according to the diagram, the top setting gives you 1 drop every 10 seconds, and the slowest setting gives you 1 drop every 360 seconds. I'm going to start in the middle, so I'm going to come down until we get 2 flashes on the middle LED. There we go. It should give me approximately 1 drop every 100 seconds. So now that it's fitted, a little bit about it. It's a motion-sensitive system, so it only oils the chain when the bike is moving. This does mean you need to be careful, because if you're going to trailer the bike anywhere, or if you take the bike on a ferry, you need to switch it off by pushing the button for 2 seconds until it gives you the decreasing LEDs. That way it's disabled, it won't oil your chain while the bike is rocking around on the truck or the ferry. Otherwise, it'll turn itself on and off as you use the bike, and also it always remembers its settings because it has an internal memory that remembers what setting you had last time, so you don't need to worry about resetting it every time you use the thing. Yeah, that is the Scottoiler xSystem 3.0 fitted to the Aprilia Tuareg 660. The only thing left for me to do is to go out and have a quick little test ride, because obviously I can't test it unless the bike's moving. And then after that, as promised, I'll let you know just how you can get your dirty little mitts on a Scottoiler of your very own. 100 kilometers covered, bit of motorway, bit of country roads, tiny little bit of farm track, and it looks like the chain oiler is oiling, as we can see by the fact that the chain is nicely oiled. It's all shiny and wet, possibly a little bit over oiling, so I might turn the setting down a little bit, but in any case, the Scottoiler is doing its job absolutely wonderfully. And as you can see, now that I've stopped, There's no puddle of oil. I've been faffing with the cameras for 5 minutes, but there's no oil dripped out, so it's obviously stopped oiling as I've stopped the bike. Awesome stuff. Which brings us to the important part of this video, which is that you, your very self, can win yourself a Scottoiler vSystem, one of their anniversary editions. All you have to do is go back into the depths of the video and tell me exactly how many years Scottoiler is celebrating. Leave your answer in the comments below, and I will reply to each and every comment that's correct with a number, so don't be confused when I send you a number. In about a month's time, I'll then feed those numbers into a random number selector, and that will choose for me the winner of the Scottoiler. I will then contact that winner and we'll figure out a way for you to get your mitts on your shiny new chain greaser. But as a little aside, please do ignore any replies to your comment that aren't me on this video, because in the last Scottoiler giveaway video, the comments were plagued with scammers trying to get you guys to give them your contact details. So yeah, ignore any replies to your comment that isn't a number. So yeah, tell me how many years Scottoiler is celebrating, and if you want to make it a bit more interesting, tell me what bike it'll go on and where you plan on taking it to. And yeah, all that remains for me to do is to thank Scottoiler very much for once again providing me a unit for my bike and also a unit for one of you guys' bikes. I've been a long time big fan of Scottoiler stuff, so it's really cool to have a brand like that on board supporting the channel. Otherwise, thank you very much for watching. I hope this has been interesting. I hope you've enjoyed seeing a little bit of content with the Aprilia. It is out there. The videos are coming. As soon as I get through this Norway nonsense, we'll be on to the Aprilia stuff. So with all that out of the way, I'm going to go and ride home. And until the next one, keep your shiny, keep yourself out of trouble, and I will see you out there. Ta-ra!